You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah, sit back and enjoy the show. What is up, everyone? Paul Apostolakis, Brad Weisgerber, Salvatore Kuzmano. We are the trio of Inside Real Estate. Thank you for joining us again for another episode. For those of you coming back, welcome back. For those of you finding us for the first time, welcome. Please go to irepodcast.com. You can go to Facebook.com/IRE podcast to see us live. You can go to YouTube or anywhere that you listen to your podcast. We should be available there under Inside Real Estate, or you can even just Google Inside Real Estate Podcast and we should come up. What's up, boys? Today we've got Renee Acho on the show. She is one of the top agents here in Michigan. She's done it all. She's been on our show before, so we don't have to give her too long of an introduction, but I'm excited to get her up here in a minute. First, before we get started, on the mortgage side, we've had rates really jump up quite a bit, really kind of slowing down the refinance volume. The only people really refinancing now are people that are doing cash out transactions. Sal, are you seeing less and less refinances?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, though, there's quite a few people who still could benefit from a cash out refi, paying off other debt or doing whatever they need to do with it, increasing their home's value. So those are still out there. Not as many rate and terms, but even with that being said, I think a lot of people look at that's it, right?
Right.
A lot of people could still benefit by lowering their term and still lowering their rate or dropping PMI.
Yeah, there's still refinance opportunities out there, but with the rates going up so much, I want to get Renee's take on how that's affecting the real estate market. So without further ado, let's get Renee up on the show. Renee, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Fun to be back.
Welcome back. So we were just talking about interest rates and how they've gone up quite a bit over the last year, since the new year. And how are you seeing that slowing down the appetite of the buyer, or is it just the same? Is it not really affecting them?
I think that historically we knew interest rates were going to go up. I mean, anybody who's anything in the economy or understands the way the world works, we knew that with inflation, we're going to have to face some changes specifically to interest rates and other things. And so I think that it sort of was already absorbed into the expectation. We've been talking about it. We've been hearing about, rates are going to probably go up by first quarter, second quarter. The irony here is that at 4%, which, let's say they go even to 4.25%, these are still historic lows. Yep. Interest rates at 3% were outstanding. We were doing things even in the 2s, but that was a blip. And I think that, people looking to purchase for, 7, 10, 20 years or longer should still be pretty comfortable with a 4% or 4.25% interest rate. It's still an absolute historical low. We just were a little spoiled for a minute. So the reality is it has not, from what we've seen, it certainly has not impacted the real estate demand. And it's the inventory that continues to put pressure on the demand for buyers to be able to obtain something. That coupled with the idea that, we are going to see an increase. We're going to continue to see this increase throughout the year, most likely stable, but gradual increase of interest rates. So that is adding additional pressure into some urgency to the consumers to find their property in a really, really substantially decreased inventory level. So it's kind of the perfect storm, and not one you necessarily want to always be in, but if you have the appetite for it, it's still very, very active.
How bad is the inventory now? How bad it? Less than a month. Yeah, less than a month of inventory.
Yeah, less than a month of inventory. And, of course, that's supply and demand. Again, if we talk about basic economics, supply and demand, the supply is low, the demand is high, the demand pressures are still higher because of now, possibly interest rates, or people who perhaps thought they were going to buy last year that weren't able to because there wasn't anything they found, and thought, okay, spring inventory might give us different opportunities. That hopefully we are seeing. I have several properties that we are in the process of rolling out in the next 2 months, and we probably have a dozen of them that we just know about right now. So there are going to be new opportunities, but the The demand, I listed one last night and we listed it for a good price, a fair price to the market. We have 10 showings between last night at 8 p.m. when we pushed, the button to send it onto RealComp, and this morning we woke up with, so there are people out there, and it's across the price range board. It's not the 200, 300, 500 million to 2 million. It's pretty consistent that the opportunities are low and the demand is high, and we don't see that really loosening up considerably. There will be more houses that hit the market, but the ongoing concern from the consumer that we're hearing, and I'm sure you're hearing it too, continues to be, well, I'd sell my house, Renee, but where the heck am I going to go?
Where am I going to go? Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Where am I going to go?
Creative. And that's what we've done. We've been able in the last couple of months to really strategize with our clients in creating that process instead of, there's nowhere to go. There are options and there are opportunities. And what you guys were just talking about is one of them. Buy before you sell if you're worried about it. Pull a refi. Pull a cash out refi, pull that money and sort of bridge the two opportunities so that you are able to buy first and then sell. It's a little bit unnerving, but it's equally concerning to not know, for a lot of buyers where they're going to go if they sell their property. So it's putting a bottleneck, I think, on inventory from really what it should be this time of year. And if you have agents who understand how to navigate this, who've experienced 2008, 9, other hiccups, ups and downs in the market, there are absolutely ways to be able to capitalize on the values of the sale and be able to put yourself in a nice purchase position.
Yeah, a lot of people have equity in their house right now to sell, Brad. Right? A lot of people have equity in their house. They're looking to buy a new house. They're going to get a good payout from the house. They're using that down payment probably for the new house, but they can pull cash out of that house and buy another house, right, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to tap that equity without potentially selling, getting a home equity line, or, a lot of people don't realize too, your retirement. It's easy to kind of pull from that and get the funds you need to put down. And depending on, how quickly you sell your house, which in this market you could say would be very quick, you can replenish those funds and avoid penalties and whatnot for drawing from the IRA. But, it's, to Renee's point, I mean, I think if rates went to 7, there'd still be multiple offers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
But I've never been in a market where over the weekend, the buyers don't even submit an offer because they hear there's, 25 on it.
Right. Right.
That's where it's kind of concerning, where they're like, we're just not even going to do it. It's getting crazy.
And that's a lot of what we're feeling right now. There's considerable buyer fatigue and agent fatigue. And lender fatigue, from the standpoint of people are like, you know what, I'm exhausted from this. And so you got to, seller beware. Sometimes we've trained and coached our clients in situations that highest and best isn't always the way to go.
Right.
And if you really have a pulse on the market and you understand what's going on, highest and best can actually deter people from putting in offers because they're sick of it. To your point, I think was it Sal, Paul? I forget.
Sal, yeah.
People are like, I'm not doing this anymore. Escalation clauses, appraisals. And then as a seller, when you're in those situations and people are putting the multiple offers, highest and best, and they're putting appraisal waivers and appraisal guarantees, if your agent doesn't understand that they're still locked into certain situations with their loan, that appraisal guarantee, I had one yesterday, and the appraisal guarantee is not what people always think. They've got to be really careful. Right. Also, I think that sometimes people are just they're throwing a number out at the house because they're so sick of it. They're trying to capture the property and then think later because there's no time to think. It's like, act now, put your offer in.
Yeah.
Lock it up, and then take a breath and decide whether or not you really want the house, and you see them falling apart. So it's gotten a little bit, there's some backflow to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting PAs sometimes that have 2-week closes, 2.5-week closes. And it's like, what type of situation are we creating for this experience? Right. Like, it's going to be high stress. We got to get the appraiser right away. We got to pay for a rush. We got to do this. We got to do that. And it's like, why? Right? Like, why all of a sudden do you have to sell your house in a week and a half or 2 weeks? right? I mean, or close. Like, how does that even play into it? It's I mean, I understand if like, hey, in 2 weeks we're leaving the country for good. Okay, that makes sense, right? But like,
for good, we're fleeing.
But people, I guess I mean, I understand it's probably not important, and usually it's like, okay, yeah, we get an extension if we need, but ultimately, it's like unreasonable things are being put into offers, right? And I think that's what's really like, it's like, yeah, we'll win it, but we got to put like a week and a half close. Can you do that? It's like, I guess. Like, why are we doing this? Like, it's unreasonable.
Well, we're doing it because there's no supply, and that's what you have to do.
Well, I understand, yeah, but it's like, it's funny that that's even like being
I know it's
right.
crazy.
It's like, well, we could close tomorrow if you want to put it on the PA. It's basically things are being put out there that aren't necessarily backed, right? And that's what's like concerning. And to Renee's point, a highest and best situation, it's like, how realistic and is that the best offer, a 2-week close with a mortgage, right?
Worse than that for buyers, it puts you in such a bad position. And I know we're trying to win these houses, but how about the no inspection thing?
No inspection's crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah.
The liability, the concern. I mean, no inspections, and we're getting I mean, I can understand maybe on new construction, possibly.
Sure.
But people are really putting themselves at a disadvantage, and I think and I get it. I mean, I certainly understand it, but why not even give yourself 2 days just to have some due diligence? But if everybody else is waiving it, it
puts pressure. It puts pressure on the buyer to do that. But to be fair, to not inspect a multi-$100,000 property or property that's $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, it's probably the biggest purchase of your life. It's kind of a wild thing to think about to not get an inspection.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah, but people are doing it.
I'm not advising my country, but they are doing it. On my listings, of course, I'm the fiduciary for my seller.
Yeah.
On the buy side, I am not promoting or even I'm putting it in writing that I advise against doing that because it's scary to me.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I see a lot on the PAs, right? Inspection is for informational purposes only, right? And there's no negotiations that will come from it.
So we write in there mechanical, environmental, structural issues only in a minimum if it exceeds a certain amount of money. So unless we have something that's, depending on the price of the house, let's say $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 or higher, that is not going to. So it captures, I think, a little bit of a balance. We're not looking for loose screwballs, and handles. We're looking for significant findings that are, costly beyond the scope of what you negotiated. And that to me is a fair, and it's a quick, you can do it in a day, 2 days.
I mean, you buy a house with a bad foundation. I mean, you're screwed. You know what I mean?
And I think right now it's like you can get people in and out relatively quickly. They're not as busy as they were like last summer, right? So
you just have to have a network, have a long list of people who you trust as the inspectors, 5 or 6 of them. And they get it. I mean, I think they're understanding too, that urgency is necessary, but to forego that entirely.
Not advisable. I would not, it's not advisable. You can't, I mean, I couldn't with good conscience advise
people do it left and right.
They're doing it all over the place. And
they're making me feel really bad right now. I bought both my houses with no inspections.
Brad
is crazy.
Yeah, I'm a little wild.
Well, you did it because you didn't want to spend the $500.
Yeah.
No, I did it because my first house, I didn't really care because it was a $30,000 house. And then the second house, I did it because I don't know why I did it.
To win the offer. You did it to win the offer. That's why you did it. You did it to get in the house.
That was before the market was this crazy, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Renee, why the spring? Like, why does everybody want to wait till the spring, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I get it. People want to, potentially have their house show better, but in Michigan, especially with it being so seasonable here with the snow on the ground, being cold outside, springtime for us is really just big, right?
Yeah.
You know
it's
what I
always
mean?
historically been on a timeline. We're a seasonal market here for sure. And every area has it. I mean, Florida, their season is the opposite of ours because snowbirds are going from the cold
Correct.
to warm. So, their spring and summer season is, not good.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the use of area. So Birmingham, Bloomfield, Oakland counties, these areas, even Wayne County, you have a lot of people who are looking. Number one, homes look better in the spring than they do right now. I mean, when we're taking pictures and trudging through snow, and people want to see the yards, they want to see the house, they want to see the landscape, they want to see the patios, they want to see the walkways and see what kind of condition and things. So that's number one, which I tell people when we're doing this, if you're looking to sell your house in the spring, start in the fall, take photos. We have inventory photos of a lot of our listings that lead up to, so that we have that. But things look better in the spring. Also for school systems, a lot of times people want to be out in June or July in their new house by August, so that they can typically start the school year without transitioning mid-year to the kids. So it does have a lot to do. These communities tend to be very family focused, not all,
Right.
but that's the big lean.
Right.
And so spring market gives you that timing. And then, of course, if you take November, December, those are holiday months, and nobody really wants to deal with homes during the holidays unless they have to.
Sure.
And January is like catch your breath, go on your diet.
Go on your diet.
Isn't it funny though? Like, we're always pushing something, right? Like, I always, like, at the end of the month or whatever it is, there's always a holiday that everyone wants to close by and be in, or whatever, whether it's Labor Day, Memorial Day. We want to be in by Christmas. We want to be in by the end of the school year, start of the school year, whatever it is. And it's like, there's always a situation for everyone. I think you just got to figure out what that is for people and try to play to it. Right.
Yeah, but when we're talking about inventory, I think for us here, we just are so starved for inventory. The reason I'm asking is I'm looking for inventory. Like, are we going to get the inventory, Renee, that we need to really get?
I can answer that for her. No,
we're not going to get it.
We're not going to get the inventory that we need, because it's impossible without a mass death of people around the area, or
builders building a lot of more houses.
Yeah, like record speeds. We're not going to get the inventory we need by spring.
Renee, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and there's actual reason. What Brad's saying is accurate, but there's reason for it. If you go back to 2020, right at coming out of the pandemic in May, a lot of people, if you recall, we were telling everyone, fix your houses. You're in your home for 3 months. So a lot of people who potentially thought that they might go on the market for the spring ended up staying in the house, reorganizing,
right.
built the gym in the lower level. They updated their bathroom. They did the things that maybe they had anticipated not doing because we were kind of stuck there doing what we could. And so that inventory didn't come on. Also, I think there was a hold off on trying to figure out what life was going to look like when we opened back up those doors, and people were concerned about jobs and everything else. So that supply never hit the market. Right. Then you add to that the supply chain issues that we're having and the labor shortages. And that was a totally unanticipated. I don't think anyone expected it to go on now 18 months. So I have builders, which as you know, primarily my business has been, a huge portion of it has been in new development.
Yep.
And these guys are not only backed up from a labor standpoint, but they're backed up. They can't get the supplies. Inventory for or supply chains for appliances are a year out.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just timelines. You can't even get the materials. Then when you do get the materials, if you look at lumber, it has gone up double in a year. It's gone, wiring for electrical is 30%. Everything has had these increases. So what you have is this bizarre combination of what you would expect builders to be pulling their inventory, that would be coming onto the market. That is significantly delayed.
Yeah,
by 6 to 8 months, and certainly, no more is there 1 year of building. It's going to take, even building construction loans are going to 18 months now, and they have additional draws because they know how long it takes. But then add to that the increase of expense. you now have inventory that you thought maybe was going to hit it, let's say $1 million marker. Now it's 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. So even if it came in, it's not necessarily available in the same market price point that it was. So the inventory is there, but it's not where you maybe need it to be.
Right.
So we're not going to see probably, I think there's going to be some loosening up. We'll have a little bit more inventory. I think it certainly, we see it coming. We're talking to our colleagues. I've got a ton of pocket listings that I know are coming that we're preparing, myself and some of the people I work with. But if we get to 3 months of inventory, that's going to be like, woo, you know,
right.
a huge advantage compared to what we've seen and what we expect.
And what's typical, Renee, just in a normal market? What's typical?
I mean, you know, depends, seller's market, buyer's market, but 6 months would be comfortable. At least it gives you something to pick from.
Right.
You know, you don't necessarily want 2-year inventory. That would have been, you know, 2006, 7, 8.
Right.
6 more 7, 8. You want to pull back. A nice balance of giving you that buyer and seller. You know, not totally. Right now, we're such a seller's market because there's no inventory, and we always want a balance. You don't, it's unhealthy to be extreme in any situation.
Right. No, 100%. And we're so far from a healthy market. It's funny. Your hair looks great. Renee, your hair looks great.
A flyaway that
your hair looks great.
I mean, inventory was low before the pandemic and has been for years, right? So, you know, that was like the most combustible fluid you could throw onto, you know, a flame. I mean, think of all that money. I mean, it's just crazy what we're seeing right now with interest rates. I mean, what do you think that plays into, you know, the next year as far as home prices go? You think they'll flatten out a little bit, or you think it's just going to continue to spiral out of control, I should say?
I mean, we're up 14% over last year. We were up 16% prior year.
Yeah.
Depending on your area, say averaging out 15% a year. Insane. It's insane. And so we really thought, I mean, as I'm sure a lot of people did, going into 2020, we thought that was going to be the correction year because it had been a 10-year climb. You look at, you know, the pendulums, you got 10 years of increase of values.
Right.
So we assumed that was going to be corrected. It wasn't, obviously. And so coming out of there, that was unanticipated. So then you have, you know, again, the supply and the inventory shortages, which have increased the value, the numbers. I think this year we're still going to see increase of value. We have already, you know, even early spring. But I think what we're going to notice is that inflation and increase of interest rates are going to then pull off some of that demand. Mm-hmm. Not so much because people, you know, can't afford the house, but when you're at 4%, like we said, still great, still wonderful number, even 4.5%. You that plus the inflation that we're seeing across the board is going to make a lifestyle examination for people. They're going to look at this and go, you know what? It's the down payment now at 30% higher for that house, plus a little bit more of an interest rate in the payment. Plus my lifestyle costs, my gas, my groceries, my whatever is going to go up. And the responsible consumer is going to say, this has just gotten, you know, this might not make sense unless there's something spectacular that I find at a good price, and it might pull some of that off. So I think that by the end of this year, my hunch is that things are going to calm down by the end of the year. I mean, we're not going to see an overcorrection. I don't think we're going to
see. It's not going to be like a huge correction. We're not going to lose 3% this year. Right. I see double digit gains still, in my opinion, right. Whether it's 10% or 15%, I still see double digit gains because I don't see any of these problems being fixed. I don't see the inventory problem being fixed. I don't see the demand going away. I really don't. I mean, yes.
I think the only thing that will correct this is a recession caused by job loss and people having to sell their homes, which would they be in a good spot because they have a bunch of equity. But I mean, that's like the real estate market is not going to be the cause of a recession, right?
No, not like it was in 2008. That's for sure.
No,
well, that was caused by a financial crisis. So
correct. It was more of the mortgages, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you look right now, it's, another thing to think of is the stock market where it's at right now too, you know, everything's just nuts. But I I don't see us on our end here in this business, we're going to get squeezed this year, right?
Yes.
This is going to be the year that and not everyone, right? Obviously, a lot of people or people who are really good will figure out how to navigate through it, but it's going to be a year of hunting and gathering, right? There's no more easy fall on your face deals, right? That's just not going to happen. So if you don't know how to hunt or find the opportunities, you're done. Right?
Yeah, the mortgage side's going to have a problem this year for sure. The mortgage, but I think real estate's going to be a healthy market.
Well,
I mean, not a healthy market.
I think real estate's going to have a hard time too, because think about it. There's how many agents are there, right? There's almost unlimited amount of agents, and there's a very finite amount of transactions happening because there's no homes to sell. So real estate's going to struggle too. It's not just us; it's both.
Yeah,
real estate looks great because it's
again, those who can find the opportunities,
you got to find the business.
Renee, I mean, you're seeing it, right? You see, I mean, people come and go in the industry a lot, right? Especially in real estate. It's just the way that it works. Are you seeing an exodus of people that are frustrated? You know what I mean? If I'm an agent and I'm new and I can't get an offer accepted and I'm getting beat out by cash offers left and right, and I can't make a living for my family. Are you seeing people leaving the industry, or is that kind of something, or are people still clamoring to get into it?
People were clamoring maybe 4 years ago, and they're absolutely recognizing that this is a market for the experienced agent, the experienced lender, the experienced title company, the experience. If you don't have relationships and networking and the wherewithal to understand the escalation clauses, how to navigate this, what you should be doing, both as a buyer's agent and a seller, not only are you going to not be able to capture what you need to for your client, but you're going to possibly mess it up, or you're going to have it's a very high intense, high anxiety market. And it is not for people to, in my opinion, we don't see a lot of people wanting to learn in this. They've had it. Just like we have, like I said, buyer fatigue. And so, there's agent fatigue, people who have these, buyers that want to find things and they keep losing these deals and losing these deals. It's a lot harder for all of us to capture what we're trying to do for our clients. And there's a lot of agents who are like, you know what, it's hard to make it in this market. It's not, hey, I'm going to be a real estate agent and I'm going to go look at pretty houses and sell something. And it has nothing to do with it. You're going to battle, folks. And you better know how to use your weapons, because if you don't, you will not only lose the battle, you'll lose the war. And we're seeing that from a lot of people who are like, forget it. It's not, I can't deal with it, what's going on. And I don't have the experience to help my clients the right way. Right. And they're losing things left and right.
Right. There's a lot of bad agents out there, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Sometimes it's not even experience. And it shouldn't even be that it's about new agents. It's just about your ability and your app. There's bad in every industry, but this is not one for people who don't have a lot of patience.
A lot of patience. Yeah. It's going to be tough. It's going to be 2022 is going to be an interesting real estate market for sure.
I think there's sun on the other side of the clouds though. Right. I mean, if you can weather it, you might go months potentially without closing a deal. Right. Even if you're used to killing it. Right. There might not be there might be a month or two this year where you don't make any money. Right. And you got to kind of suck it up and get through it and figure out what's on the other side, or get out of the business now and find another job, because, if, like you said, if you don't have the patience, you're done.
Nobody really gets out of the business. This business pulls you back in. I've seen so many people get out of the business and come right back 6 months, a year later, because it just pulls you back in.
Yeah, but if there's no money to be made, man, I don't know. I don't see that happening like it's been in the past.
True. Very true.
So Renee, what are you doing in 2022 that's different than 2021? Obviously, you know what I mean? Are you changing some things internally, business wise, mentality wise? What's different for Renee in 2022 than 2021?
Well, I'm always looking to change. I love when people say, well, there's a shift in the market. So there's always a shift in the market.
Correct.
If you become complacent about this industry, you may as well hang up your gloves. You always have to be prepared for a shifting market, either buyer's market, seller's market, interest rates, inventory, financial crises. You have to be in front of this and anticipate what the issues are. So this year, coming off the heels of last year, this inventory thing is a real concern for buyers and for sellers. And that has been, I've studied the trend in the last couple of months to figure out exactly how to help buyers get to leverage the opportunity to purchase in this climate, and for sellers, how to do it in such a way that captures the highest value, but doesn't scare away potential buyers. So the constant training that I do for my team, we've added additional support. I have additional agents on my team so that we can all be making calls to the agents, creating, building off the relationships that we have, building our pocket listing coming soon. What do we know? Inventory to help the buyers that we have, as well as working with lenders that we have strong relationships with and helping the process. It's very strategic. People who are looking to react in this market are really going to be the ones that lose out. To be strategic and to plan and understand and be ready and have your strategy for buying and selling and your team together, your lender, your inspector, your, whoever it is, your agents, to have your team all be on the same page, to sit down with that client. And we do this with everyone. We're sitting down and saying, okay, what is the goal? What's the timeline? When do you need to be out? Do you have equity in your home? Can we bridge the two? How can we get it to help you buy without selling? Is that a possibility? If not, are we getting the pre-approval? Do we have it ready? Are we updating it this is like, you have to be armed and ready and strategize with your clients. And that's really what we're doing, is gathering data, meeting more with other agents, using our relationships that we have built over 20 years with the people within our industry to cooperate and work together to find these opportunities for the clients, but then also really be consultative. You should not, our phrase on RLA that I use, and I've been, we are not here to collect commissions. We're here to create a relationship. And it might not be the right time for certain people to buy or to sell. And that conversation has to take place first. The strategy then comes as a result of the conversation. And then the team is gathered and put in place so that we can all be ready to execute the strategy that's in the best interest of those clients. To have a call, say, hey, Renee, I'm looking to buy a house, and then just start looking at a house for them. That doesn't make any sense. There's too much that has changed in the last 2 years that would be counterproductive to the results that they're looking for.
Yeah. And the average consumer right now isn't living it every day. So they're just like, I want to buy a house, right? That's what they're thinking. I want to buy a house. How hard could it be? I'm pretty well qualified. I can get my pre-approval, whatever. I just want to buy a house. So from a consumer standpoint, there's probably some education that's going along with that too, right, Renee?
Got to set the expectations. And that is where clients are getting frustrated. Agents are getting frustrated. That's where the fatigue is coming in. If you are not educating your clients, and most are it's all over the news. It's all over you can't get away from it. But if you don't really understand the nuances of what's going on right now, you're going to have buyer or seller fatigue. There's going to be frustration. And that is why it is so crucial to make sure that you're strategizing with your team so that you all understand and you have the set expectations, so there's not disappointment and frustration at the level that it could be without that.
Yeah. And as a consumer, I don't think it's ever been more important to have the right team around you, right? Like having the right lender, having the right title company, having the right agent, if one of these pieces, because a real estate transaction is pretty complicated, right? It's not just like, you find a house, you close, you're done. There's so many moving parts. And if you don't have them all lined up correctly and you don't have the right team around you, to your point, it could be a really bad experience.
Yeah. And I think right now that's what people are going through. So you have to understand the process and the difficulties, and there's no completely smooth transaction. There are just people who know how to navigate through the process to help through those hurdles when you need to jump them.
1000%. If I'm a consumer today, Renee, what am I looking for in my agent?
Knowledge. not just market knowledge of the process, knowledge of in relationships of experience that come, with that knowledge is typically from experience of having relationships, having gone through circumstances that have been, someone who's gone through 3, 4, 5 shifts that are like, okay, here's what we need to do. So it's absolutely having a relationship with somebody that you trust, knows how to help you through the process of what is a pretty, like we said, rocky road right now.
Yeah.
So I'd say experience and confidence in the person, not just as the realtor, but as someone who understands all of the industries that are tied back to, the execution of you getting.
The realtor is almost like a conductor nowadays of an orchestra, right? Like you've got all these moving parts, and the realtor's up there kind of sitting up there kind of conducting the whole thing. And if you don't have a good conductor, the whole orchestra is going to sound like shit.
Right? Yeah, you better have been in that orchestra for a while, because there are definitely tricks of this trade, of this market. There are nuances. There are things in an offer that I look for, that if you are a newer agent or someone who hasn't really thought through this process or understands with your team, the lender, how to add advantages, you will lose that deal over and over again for some simple changes and simple things that you're just not aware of because you don't have the right team.
Yeah, for sure. So, Renee, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Please tell the audience how they can get a hold of you if they need to find you, and then we'll get to 3 questions.
Oh boy, forget the third question. You can get a hold of us, RLA, we are RLA Real Estate Group. We are on all the social platforms, so it's RLA Realtors, or you can reach us by our number, which is 524-587-RLA1, and we're here to help with whatever your questions you have.
That's awesome. So now we're on to 3 questions. Brad, Sal, do you guys have any questions you want to ask Renee? I've got one. Renee, if you had to eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One dish, that's it?
That's it.
You're not going to believe this. I was thinking about it yesterday. I am an absolute glutton for a cheeseburger. It's disgusting.
Cheeseburger. What's your favorite cheeseburger? Let's go there.
I don't know.
Are we talking like a McDonald's cheeseburger? Or are we going Comet?
Like a good old fashioned sesame seed cheeseburger. There's just something. It's like a comfort food to me. Wow. I don't know what.
All right, that's a new one.
Cheeseburgers are good.
Cheeseburgers are
delicious.
Yeah,
they're pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
If you were to do real estate in one other state, what would it be and why?
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything in Florida right now?
It's booming, and I've done real estate in Florida. I have family there, and I love the area. I understand the area. It's kind of a second home because I've had family that's been there for many years. But love.
What part of Florida? What part of Florida?
I'm a Miami girl, so give me that side. Fort Lauderdale, Las Olas, Miami. Those are that's the hub where I really am most familiar. I enjoy it. It's fun, always changing, little wild.
Their rents have gone crazy through the roof. Yeah. Nuts. Their real estate market's gone absolutely nuts. I mean, they're seeing 30% gains in rents, which is crazy.
Their biggest problem is they can't fit everybody. Someone told me, I was just there. I don't know if this is accurate, but I think I heard 2,000 people a day are moving to Florida.
Yeah, that's wild. I was in Brickell for a lot this past winter, so it's a cool spot. I love Miami. Yeah, I agree with you. Sal, Brad, you guys got a question?
The food one was taken. If you could be a fly on the wall for any specific event in history, what would it be and why?
Oh my God, that's a really hard one. And I'm an ex-history teacher, so now I'm like going through all.
Oh boy, here we go.
Craziness. Anything? I have to say it would have something. It would have to be something that dealt with Jesus. Like I really would love to see something that I have a lot of curiosity behind.
Like chilling in the corner watching the Last Supper or something.
Yeah, like something that I really want to know what happened.
Renee's not sitting in the corner; she's sitting at the table. Are you kidding
me?
You're
a fly on the wall. You're like a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, something from that. Just understanding all of that component. I feel like I've studied other history enough that That's one that I'm always curious about. I think there's a lot more there than what we know. How about that?
That's super interesting. I would agree with you. I mean, there was a guy that did all this stuff, and we still talk about him on a podcast that nobody listens to. So it's awesome. Renee, thank you so much for doing our show again. I can't thank you enough. You're a consummate professional. You're one of the best in the business, and we appreciate you.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Let's inform the public and
I love it.
Work through this craziness called the real estate world.
I love it. Thank you, Renee. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Renee is awesome. Renee is one of the best in the business.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, she is.
That is crazy about Florida. 2,000 people a day.
Yeah, Florida's market is, especially the Miami market, man. It's like, think about your rent year over year has gone up 30% in some spots.
It's nuts.
It's really nuts. It's, Florida's seeing a lot of gains, especially with COVID. People can work from home, and why not work from a tropical space? You know what I mean? Like, why would you work from anywhere else? So
right.
It makes sense. So, all right, boys. Well, thank you guys for doing the show with me again. For those of you that are still listening, thank you for making it through the whole show. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Give us a review. It really helps us out when you review us. You can find us at irepodcast.com. Go to Facebook.com/IRE podcast. You can go to YouTube or anywhere that your heart desires to listen to a podcast. We should be there. So thank you guys again. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.